We have a short presentation, of course, and I think you know what it's about. It's about this DuPont WAPU initiative that we're doing. The county staff and the city staff have worked really hard and really close together with this. We started this back in June, and we're going to get started. But what I want to do first, what we do with these is we like to recognize, the county and the city would like to recognize our folks. So I did want to, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll turn it up. I've got it pretty close. How about this? Oh, boy, I really got it. All right. You got it now? Can you hear me? We're going to go ahead and get started. And what I want to do first is introduce, I'm Joel Evans. I'm the planning director for Charleston County. And this has been an effort with both the county and the city staffs, the planning staffs. We started this in June of last year. We had a charrette. I'm sure many of you all attended that. But before we get started, I want to introduce some of the folks from the county, and then I'm going to hand it over to Jacob Lindsay, and he's going to introduce some of the folks from the city as well. So I first want to start off with our council member, Teddy Pryor. He's in the back there, and if he could raise his hand so that everyone knows. Okay. Okay, thank you. I have not seen council member Condon, but she's also, this part of this is in her district, and I did want to recognize her. And just quickly, I did see Eric Meyer, our Planning Commission Chairman, and Charlie Smith. I'm Joel Evans. I'm the Planning Director for Charleston County. We have Andrea Petrus with the county, Stephen Rissy, Sally Brooks, Andrea Harris-Long, Natalie Hoff, our PIO, is here. Jen Maddow is helping take video. We have Chris Wanamaker from our Public Works Department, and also Frank Pandulo, and they are going to participate in the presentation as well. And Councilmember Condon, I think, just walked in, so I wanted to recognize her. And do you want to say anything, Councilmember? Okay. So I think I've got everyone on the county side. I'm going to hand it over to Jacob Lindsay, and he's going to introduce the folks from the city.
Thank you, Joel. I'm Jacob Lindsay with the City of Charleston's Planning Department, and I just wanted to briefly say that if he's not here already, Mayor Tecklenburg has said that he is going to join us, so I know that he is en route at the moment. And I know that we are joined by a number of council members, including Councilmember Marvin Wagner, wherever you are, Councilmember Wagner, Councilmember Bill Moody, whom I saw earlier. Councilmember Moody, thank you for being here. Councilmember Rodney Williams. There he is, and Councilmember Keith Waring. I saw you come in the back. There's Councilmember Waring. So thank you all for being here. I also wanted to acknowledge the staff who have worked on this project over the past few months, starting with Mandy Herring, our West Ashley coordinator, who has really held this project together from the city side, Christopher Morgan with the Planning Department, Amy Barrett, who is the director of our Business and Neighborhood Services Division. Frank Newham is with us from the city's Public Service Division. He handles stormwater for the city of Charleston. Also, Jason Kronsberg from our Parks Department is in the house. And also from the Planning Department, Eric Schultz and Katie McCain, I know, are with us. So thank you all city staff who have worked so hard on this. And also, last, we are joined by Jeff Burns from CARTA, who is with us as well. So thank you, everyone, for all of your ongoing work, and thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to turn it back over.
Okay, so again, as I said earlier, this started in June of last year. We had a kickoff meeting, if you recall, and then we went into a couple of days charrette where we had a drop-in, and it was real successful, I think. We had a lot of people come by. We recorded the comments, and ever since then, the city staff and the county staff have been working toward addressing those comments in an ordinance. So I did want to just briefly go over some of that with you. I'm going to be doing just an overview, and as we go through each sections here, we're going to the staffs from and departments from the city are going to come up and talk as well. So some of the big picture items that we talked about. Well, we will be going, of course. I'll be doing the recap. We're going to be talking about community elements, the land use and zoning and design standards. Andrew Petrus will talk about that. Economic development and revitalization, Traffic and transportation, Christopher Morgan and Jacob Lidsley are going to talk about that. And drainage and stormwater, we have public works representatives from both the city and the county going to be doing that. And as you know, what happened in October, that's very apropos that we're going to be addressing that, because it helped us in when we were meeting and us really realizing that there needs to be some extensive studies there. The recap, this is the planning area, just to refamiliarize yourselves. This is WAPU. This is where we are, where the star is. Savannah Highway and Sam Rittenberg. That's roughly, from the right-of-way point of view, the boundary of this. Now, it will go down to the where we're going to connect the Greenway and Bikeway as well. So it incorporates this neighborhood here, or Pebble Drive in that area. One of the things that we looked at, we tried to recognize a lot of the existing development patterns, and as we go into the zoning more, we realized that there were some real opportunities with what was going on Belgrade. We thought we wanted to be sure that we built on that, and whatever we did, we didn't take away from what was going on there. So both the city and the county, I think, have come up with a good solution, and of even expanding that idea of having that sort of incubator business to keep going. We're going to talk about the intersection of WAPU and 17, and again, like I said, connecting the Greenway and the Bikeway as well. So some of the other topics that we talked about having sidewalks. This is what we got out of the June meeting, as many sidewalks as we could. One of the things that we got out of the meeting was limiting the large car dealerships. So we'll be talking about that. Adding more green space. Okay. Adding more green space and connecting bikeways, and of course having an extensive drainage study for the area. No large apartment buildings was another big thing that came out. No single-use apartment buildings, and that was really the highlights of it. From an economic development point of view, like I said, we have this new job center district that Andrew is going to talk about. And we did come up with a name, by the way, if you haven't heard, for this area. And usually when we do this, we take the names of the roads that it encompasses, and we distill them down so that it's actually easier for us to put in our ordinances and to administer. So this is officially, if everyone likes it, the DUWAP district. So we hope you like that. Okay. Jacob just told me that Mayor Tecklenburg just came, and we did want to give him the opportunity to speak before we get into this, if you wanted to.
No need. Glad to be here with you. Thank you for this incredible community effort, and it's just the kind of thing we want to do, to have cooperation between the county and the city and the St. Andrews Public Service District, so that we really serve the needs of our citizens, no matter what jurisdiction you live in, and plan our future. Thank you so much. Is that it? That's it.
Well, I was actually finished with doing my part. I just wanted to go roughly go through the recap, just pick up the highlights of what we did in the charrette in June, and I'll hand it over now to Mandy.
Thanks. Just a couple of housekeeping items really quickly. If anybody needs to use the restrooms, they're right here. Also, we tried to adjust the temperature to make it a little bit cooler in here for you. Unfortunately, it's set by the school district, and we don't have much influence over that. And then a couple more of items before I forget. We had some copies of the West Ashley Farmers Market survey for those of you that have not taken that survey yet. We have run out of those copies. We have such a large attendance today that we have run out of the West Ashley Farmers Market survey copies. We've also run out of our agenda, as well as our one-page summary. So we're going to to tell you where you can get that farmers market survey. You can go to the city's website, charleston-sc.gov/projects. And there's a link to the West Ashley Farmers Market survey there. And then also, for those of you that follow Charleston County government on Twitter, for those of you that tweet, Charleston County is also updating as we speak their Twitter feed so that you can access the agenda in one pager if you want it right now. Otherwise, all of this information that we discussed tonight will be available on city and county websites tomorrow. Okay, so community elements. You are the community. We are all part of the community, city and county together. Thanks to everyone that participated in the workshop that we had this summer. Thanks for all of you taking your time out of your busy days away from your families this evening to come spend time with us, hear what we have to present to you. And also, please continue to provide input, suggestions, thoughts, etc. So I'm going to talk about community elements. Again, this is one of the hot topics of our workshop this summer. It was interesting being able to facilitate this topic. We got a lot of input from y'all, from the residents, business owners, teachers, kids even gave us some input. It was, we received a lot of discussion. Of course, part of the community elements include community needs, community wants, aspirations for the future, and of course, drainage, traffic and transportation, land use issues, beautification. Those are all community elements that we will be discussing later on in the presentation. So I'm going to focus on these 5 elements in this portion of the presentation. One thing we heard from you during the workshop was that there needed to be more consistency, coordination between city, county, and MPSD. I apologize for not putting that up there. But we needed to better represent the community. We needed to work together to make sure we had consistent standards, complementary zoning for each jurisdiction, similar design standards. We also heard from you that we needed to work better together to communicate with you, to reach out to you, to engage the community, and we are doing that. The charrette this summer was one step. This is another part of that process, and we will continue to work together better and also reach out to you better. The second kind of hot topic item under this this theme was that a lot of folks don't feel safe in their neighborhood sometimes, or they were concerned about high crime areas in West Ashley. And there has been some improvement. There's, of course, the Charleston County Sheriff's Department that patrols West Ashley. And there's also the City of Charleston Police Team 4 that patrols all of West Ashley. Police Team 4 has a Facebook page that you can keep up with information, alerts, happenings. There's also a non-emergency police number that you can call if you see something that is suspicious but maybe not an emergency. And the more often you report things, the more often you say, there's something suspicious going on, or I see people doing graffiti at this park, or there was somebody roaming the neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the morning, the more often you call and report those incidents to the county's sheriff's office or police, the better responses y'all will get, the higher level of patrol. Because every time you call, that's a data point into our police department. And they analyze the calls and the numbers of concerns and complaints, and they'll increase patrol in an area. And the police and sheriff departments, they do constantly patrol all areas of West Ashley, and they change up their patrol routes and patrol times. So nothing is ever predictable to those doing unsavory behavior. So just because you're not always seeing them out doesn't mean they're not there. With regards to livability, we heard from a lot of you that you had concerns about perhaps neighbors that weren't maintaining their yards, or streets that looked trashy, or public park areas that weren't being kept up, or recent graffiti on park signs, and businesses that weren't keeping clean parking lots or upkeeping their properties like they should. Well, we have a resource for you if you're seeing those livability issues, if you have concerns. The city has the the Department of Livability and Tourism. If you have a concern about a livability issue, if you see something that needs reporting, you can contact our livability department, and they will send an enforcement officer out to assess the situation and resolve the issues that need to be resolved. The county also has code enforcement on their end. Additionally, we also have a citizen support center at the City of Charleston. You can come in, or you can click online the citizen support button. We also have a division that's devoted solely to business and neighborhood services. We have a person Her job is to manage neighborhood groups and be a resource for you. So we have these facilities and resources for you. We're glad to share more information to you on these issues and these services. And we know that's one thing we need to do better. We need to communicate with you better so that you are aware of these services that we can provide. We also have the ombudsman as well that can help out with that. Another item that you talked about in our summer charrette was the need for additional park space and park improvement, or green space and park improvements. Just to let you know, West Ashley, City of Charleston parks in West Ashley total at least 26. So we have 26 properties that are city park properties in the area of West Ashley. Now, not all of those have playgrounds. Some of those are passive, kind of reflective parks, and some of those are parks that were recently purchased and will be improved in the future, but 26 properties. And then with the PSD, Charleston County, and the state parks combined, we have well over 30 parks in the West Ashley area. So you see here the outline of the DuPont WAPU area. There are some park spaces in here. They're actually a new park space that has been, recently purchased in this area. And if you travel down further, WAPU, there will be a new future park. The city purchased this property. It's the old WPAL site. That will be the community's first access point, public access point to the Stono River. So there's no other existing public access to the Stono River. Also, what we'll talk about later is one item that we heard is the need to connect the existing bikeway to the West Ashley Greenway. This is, the bikeway and the Greenway are incredible assets that are unique to West Ashley. No other geographic area in the Low Country has this system of trail and bikeways. This is a really valuable asset, and if we can link the two, that will be a great accomplishment for city, county, PSD, for the community as a whole. And with regards to park improvements, yes, we realize that there are a number of parks in West Ashley that need to be improved. So this is what we're going to do. We can take an inventory of the parks and assess their situation. You know, do they need new playground equipment? Do they just need new signage? Do they just need a little sprucing up? We can take that inventory and then start to prioritize which parks we focus on first. Two other key components of this community element topic was that you told us that there needed to be more places for residents to gather, more community-oriented spaces. And this is really West Ashley wide, not just in the DuPont WAPU area. And the Senior Center, the West Ashley Senior Center, that will begin construction this year. That is going to be located next to Roper St. Francis off of Henry Tecklenburg Boulevard. That's a city, county, Roper St. Francis joint efforts. That's going to be a great asset for the community to have. We've also heard from you during the charrette that there is this overwhelming desire for West Ashley to have a farmer's market. Can I hear any cheers for a farmer's market? Okay. Okay, just making sure we heard you right. So, who has taken that farmer's market survey so far? Okay. Those of you that haven't, your homework assignment tonight is between now and this weekend. Take that survey. Again, we'll provide a website link at the end of this slideshow for a link to that. But please take that survey. We want your input. So the city is researching and working on a possible farmers market. It's a very complicated and involved process. We are reaching out to you to gain community input so that we know what you want to see, what type of vendors, the size, if you have any ideas about location, time of year, time of day, day of the week. We are also needing to survey vendors because we have to make sure there are farmers available to support a farmers market and other makers to support that farmers market. And we also have to find the right location. It's a lot more complicated than we first thought, finding the best location for the farmers market. But we want to make sure that this market's successful. We want to make sure that whatever market is delivered to West Ashley, that it is the best that it can be because West Ashley deserves no less. And then finally, we heard from you that there needs to be more community events, whether that be cultural events, like more Piccolo Spoleto event, or maybe a community West Ashley Day, or just more community events as a whole. And we have that on our to-do list too. So start looking. In the future, we'll be reaching out to you, advertising more events, but your voice is heard. And then finally, the other big ticket item under this community elements theme was that West Ashley is a great place. However, its image has suffered some in the last few years. And we really all need to do our best to prop up that image, to really demonstrate how great West Ashley is. So we heard that this summer from the workshop, and in the fall we launched a community survey. And we received over 3,200 responses from you this summer. That's incredible. That's more responses than the city has ever received on any survey. And that survey went out West Ashley-wide, paper copies, online copies. Didn't matter if you're a resident of the city, county, PSD, didn't matter. And what we learned from that is that West Ashley residents and business owners have a strong core sense of pride in their community. You love your neighborhoods. You love your local businesses. You love your little neighborhood park. You love your neighbors, your church, your community, your schools. This strong sense of community pride just resonated throughout those surveys. And we did find out some things that we know we need to work on, but we're going to use the information from that survey to help develop a visioning process for West Ashley for how we can collectively work together to promote West Ashley's image and really identify all the pride points and quality characteristics of West Ashley. And then finally, we learned from you with regards to the physical identity of West Ashley, not just the warm and fuzzy identity of West Ashley, but the physical identity is that there really does need to be this effort to beautify certain areas of West Ashley. We'll talk about streetscaping in a minute, but also just the beautification of West Ashley gateways. As you come over the bridges into West Ashley, there needs to be this almost announcement of you've arrived to wonderful West Ashley. You know, landscaping needs to be improved, these gateways, and there needs to be some signage. So the city is working on that. This spring, you will see landscaping improvements occurring at the major gateways into West Ashley. You'll see some seasonal color and also some hardier landscaping plants that can last year-round. And we're also working on a signage plan for West Ashley, again, as you approach those gateways. And now we'll talk about land use, zoning, and design standards.
Thanks, Mandy. Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea Petras. I'm the Deputy Director for Charleston County Zoning and Planning. Before I talk about land use, zoning, and design standards, I do want to let you know the Farmers Market Survey, the link to that has been posted on the Charleston County Twitter account at Chaz County Government, and also on Charleston County's Facebook page. So if you want to look for it there, you will find it. Thank you all for coming out tonight. This is great. We made 150 copies of everything that we brought tonight, and that was gone long ago. So we have quite a number of people here this evening, which is awesome. So we're going to talk about land use, zoning, and design standards. And as you've heard from the last couple of folks that have talked, one of the biggest issues that came out of the charrettes that we had back in June of last year was the need for the city and the county to coordinate better and to have more consistent standards across the board. So that's what we've worked really hard to do. Specifically, let me flip the slide. Specifically having to do with land use and zoning and design standards, what we heard from y'all back in June was we need to limit the building height to 3 stories, especially in the interior of the area. Not have metal buildings out on Highway 17, Savannah Highway, the gateway to the district. Give businesses an updated facelift. Make sure we have cost-effective standards. We don't want to create standards that are so onerous that they sort of make development unaffordable for folks. Want to make sure that we pay special attention to storm water and buffer zones, drainage requirements, as drainage is such a big issue in this area. Make sure that the buildings address the street, so you don't have parking out in front instead of having a building frontage. Emphasize pedestrian connections and lighting, street lighting. Have sidewalks, more pedestrian connections within communities so people can walk to businesses and between houses. Add landscaping along sidewalks. Not allow large single-use apartment complexes. That was one we heard a lot about. Make sure that we allow quiet businesses, not businesses that generate a lot of traffic coming into and out of the neighborhoods. Not allowing more car dealerships, large-scale car dealerships. And requiring low-impact development, again, because of the drainage and flooding issues. So over the last 6 or so months, the city and the county have been coordinating to draft requirements in the form of new zoning districts and new overlay zoning districts that will address some of those issues. On this map here, you can see the outline of the planning area shown in black. And just in a general way, some of the ideas we've come up with in the ordinances that have been drafted is to have a special district here to really incentivize having the types of businesses that are popping up there, the startup businesses, the entrepreneurial type businesses. Making sure we retain the residential character in the residential areas down up above First Drive, right behind this building actually, these yellow areas. And then allowing a mixture of uses along 17, and especially at the intersection of Wapu Road and Highway 17. Having use restrictions, but also in some cases making the uses more flexible to encourage the types of uses that we want to see. And then finally, really taking a hard look at design standards. Having certain design standards for Highway 17 that would be different than the ones that we would have back for the Job Center district to the north. So these are photos that we've taken from we've done a bunch of windshield surveys driving around looking at things, and these are the types of development in the area that we want to emulate, and we use that kind of as our basis along with what the public told us to draft the guidelines. And the guidelines are in a draft format, and I'm going to go over them just as an overview. We will be finalizing the drafts and posting them all on our website so you can see the hard and fast number standards before we take them through the city and county adoption processes. And of course, we will notify everyone of when these are going to the city and county planning commissions and councils so that they can come to the public hearings as well. So I want to start off with the Job Center district. It's this purple area here. It kind of spans the northern part. This is Wapu Road. This is Belgrade Avenue, DuPont, Skylark. This area is really intended to allow for startup and entrepreneurial type businesses, service uses, repair uses, things like that. Things that wouldn't be allowed would be vehicle dealers, the ability for someone to come in and buy up a bunch of properties and put in a Sam's Superstore there. That's the kind of development we heard that wasn't wanted in that area. So we're really trying to encourage small-scale startup type uses. In this area, we also wanted to make sure that we had some design standards to make sure as things get developed and redeveloped, they look really nice. But we don't want to make that so onerous that it becomes unaffordable to have the types of businesses that we actually want to encourage. So we looked at having some quality building standards, some quality building materials, having the parking to the side and rear to allow for the buildings to be pulled up to the road frontage. But if there are special circumstances where a business needs to have the parking at the front, looking at that on a case-by-case basis. And then also looking at minimizing the landscape buffer requirements where there are compatible uses next to one another, because that adds costs to development. Also in this area, we are looking at having a maximum building size of 12,500 square feet so that people can't develop giant structures in the area. Limiting hours of operation to 9 a.m. to 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We've thought that many of the types of businesses we would see in here would have those types of operating hours. The next area is the community commercial area, and that is the red area here, shown mostly along Savannah Highway, although there is some that comes back up Orleans and DuPont Road and around Skylark as well in those areas. This area is intended to have more intense uses, like you see already out there. We did hear a lot about prohibiting vehicle sales that are greater than 1 acre in size, so that is something that we have written into our ordinances. Also prohibiting fast food restaurants, gas stations, single-use multifamily or apartment structures that are greater than 10,000 square feet, superstores or warehouse clubs, self-storage facilities that are not part of a multi-story mixed-use type development that has retail and office along the street frontage, special trade contractors, and so forth. So in this area, the idea here is to have a 25-foot vegetative right-of-way buffer back from Savannah Highway with the ability to reduce that down to 5 feet if the buildings are going to be pulled up to the street, which is what we really want to encourage. And also, the building height would be able to be taller in this area. For the first 400 feet back from Savannah Highway, which would be about to right here, allowing those properties to go up to 5 stories, with the portions that are behind go up to 4 stories. So it's step back down as you get back beyond the frontage. So the next district are the light commercial districts, and these are generally our office and very light neighborhood-oriented service commercial districts. There are very few of them in here. There's some right here along Wapu Road, a couple right here near Pebble Road. These are really intended just to allow office uses and neighbor-oriented service uses. They would be 35 feet tall at a maximum, or 2.5 stories. And then we've got the multifamily. There's some multifamily that currently exists in this area. It's shown right here in orange and up in this area. And then there's one right here. I believe those are the only areas. Those would be able to be developed as currently they are developed, but those would be the only 3 areas where that type of development would be allowed. And then the last district that we have are the Parks District, and that's shown in green. So we've got the bikeway area here. We've got these 2 areas right next door to it. And then there's one right here on Pebble Road, which is the cemetery. And this one is the only one we have in the county. The others are in the city. But the idea is, at least for the cemetery parcel, to not allow development that would be detrimental to the cemetery. But on all of them, allow park and active and passive recreation type uses. And this map is on the back of the one-pager that was handed out this evening. So just as a wrap-up and a reminder, the new district that we have is the Job Center Zoning District. This is going to be done as an overlay district for the county, and then the city is actually putting it in as an actual new zoning district. Again, it's intended to encourage entrepreneurial and startup type businesses that are low traffic generators with design standards. And these businesses exist in the Belgrade area already, and they do emulate a lot of the things that we've written into our ordinances to encourage as far as development is concerned. And before I wrap up and hand this over to Jacob, I just did want to remind you that to look out for notification on when we will be taking these standards to the Planning Commission and county council, or city and county councils. We will post them on the website. The web addresses are on the fronts of your one-pager on the right-hand column, so you can go and look at those. It'll probably be maybe 2 weeks or so before we have them finalized to post. So with that, thank you very much, and I will turn it over to Jacob. At the end, sir. Yep.
Thank you. Now, you are looking at an aerial image of Highway 17, which is right here, and Wapu, which is right here. So north is up in this image, and we are sitting just off this photograph. So one of the things that we clearly heard was a desire to focus on Highway 17 and on the way that Highway 17 looks and feels here. And we really heard a desire to give this main commercial frontage a sense of neighborhood place and a sense of identity, not unlike Avondale or other parts of West Ashley that have a real sense of place about them. And as we looked at this specific area, which is sort of in between the 526 interchange and the Auto Mile, with great neighborhoods behind, what we find is that Highway 17 is really similar to other stretches of Highway 17. It has the same number of lanes, it has the same kind of sidewalks and plantings. So we looked at how that could potentially be changed over time to give it that sense of neighborhood scale and that sense of place that we heard that people wanted. And to just briefly walk through some of those ideas. One of the things, as Andrea mentioned earlier, is the idea of putting the parking behind buildings instead of having a sea of cars out in front. So perhaps parking could be located behind commercial buildings. That doesn't mean that you couldn't have drive-throughs or other kinds of uses that are needed here, but they would be designed in such a way that they would take place behind the buildings. In addition, we would hope to see things like street connections where they are possible to help get traffic off of Highway 17 and to further connect neighborhoods so that everyone's not dependent on going on the main street. We also looked at the ability to pull buildings up closer to the street, again, giving a different character and framing up the street, having it have a better neighborhood scale, coupled with plantings on the street itself and improvements to this intersection, which we'll talk about in more depth later, but they include things like the potential for landscape medians, street tree plantings or other landscaping. And of course, as you've heard before, the very important idea of connecting the bikeway, perhaps fronting Highway 17 across and then down so that it could be a part of the greenway to the south. Now, this is a pretty image, but how do you achieve such a thing? And the answer is that to turn this into that identifiable neighborhood place over time requires coordination between lots of different folks, including private landowners, the city, the county, the state DOT, and all of the entities within those organizations that govern the design of the public realm and the design of private buildings and lots as they develop. And from the city side, we would look to use things like our design review board and perhaps enhanced design guidelines that would enable them to create a really great and identifiable neighborhood scale at this intersection. So this is one vision for how we could achieve that goal. And with that, I will turn it over to Mandy.
So another key topic during our workshop this past summer was this concept of economic development and revitalization. And I've heard Mayor Tecklenburg speak a couple of times in the last couple of days and read his State of the City address last night. And he keeps using this phrase that I like a lot, West Ashley Renaissance. I think that's a really cool way to think about West Ashley's future. And part of that is economic revitalization. And, you know, I'm not going to stand up here and pretend like we have all the answers to economic revitalization because we don't. We're looking into those. We're researching those. I encourage any business owners, any commercial landlords, any commercial property owners, if you have ideas, if you see ways that the city, the county, the PSD could help attract the businesses that we want to see in West Ashley, please contact us. We want to hear from you. You're on the ground. You're doing this every day. We want to know what works for you, what incentives would be enticing to you or to other businesses. So again, we're reaching out for your information, for your support as well. So this is more homework for some of you to do. With regards to revitalization, again, thinking about how Avondale has evolved over time, and thinking about how the West Ashley area over there near MEX 1 has evolved, and other areas of the city more broadly have evolved. It takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes initiatives by the city, the county, the PSD, and it takes initiatives by residents and business owners, and we're hoping to all work together to do this. So as we know, there are a lot of successful, cool businesses in the DuPont-Wapu area. Some great businesses are, there are film studio businesses here. There are Wildflower Bakery is going to be opening soon. Has anybody seen that in the old Rococo building? If you haven't ever had their sticky buns on a Sunday morning, you need to do that when they occupy that building. You will probably gain 10 pounds in the first month, but you need to do that. Some other cool uses are Boxcar Betty's. A great use is also the pediatric dental office that we have on Wapu, and local architecture and law firms on Wapu, and you know, great churches and schools. So we see some really cool businesses in this area already, and we want to continue to promote those and attract new, cool, awesome businesses that provide a local service to existing residents and future residents, but also businesses that people will travel to because you know, they're great new businesses, and they offer opportunities and products that you might not find anywhere else. So right now there is a business and neighborhood services division in the city of Charleston. And hearing from you, we have begun to tweak our mission in that division of the city. Because we've heard from you during this charrette is that we really need to make sure we are supporting local businesses. You're a key component of the West Ashley community, and we need to make sure that we focus on you and that we provide as much support to local businesses as we can. We can assist local business, and there are appropriate locations for regional business as well and national businesses, but we can help businesses find the right locations to be located. Great locations in West Ashley, great locations in the DuPont Wapu area. If there is a new industry, an entrepreneurial, some type of new maker, we can help you find a place on Belgrade or Elsie. We can also help businesses. We can help put you in touch with other professional providers, consultants, or engineering firms, whatnot. We can also link you into financial institutions. We can help with that. We can also help you navigate the sometimes complicated city approval process. And there's also county staff that can help as well from the county's end. And we're here to provide a service to businesses. And again, I think this is a key communication concept that we haven't broadcast broadly enough or widely enough. We need to let you know that we are here to help the business community. In addition, there are vacant buildings in this area. There are vacant buildings throughout West Ashley. We all know this is not what the community wants. This is not what the community needs. It's not good for residents. It's not good for adjacent businesses. It's not good for government either. We want to see these buildings turned into something that's alive, that has great services or offerings or products to offer. And many of you probably remember the building next to Dosher's that has recreated itself into Swig and Swine, a really popular local barbecue joint, which is a strong community presence there. So we see this type of revitalization vision for the DuPont Wapu area. We have confidence in this area. We do see it having the future energy of an Avondale area. And some incentives that we are in the process of investigating that will require, again, time and effort. We will be meeting with the mayor. We will be consulting with our financial folks at the city. Are some grants possibly, or the ability to waive or reduce business license fees or permits fees to encourage new businesses, or also do the same to encourage or incentivize site improvements or facade improvements, sprucing up those existing businesses. Oops. Okay, thanks.
I'm Christopher Morgan with the city. I get to do the fun one here, traffic. I'm sure you all experienced some of that getting here tonight. So we've got a number of things that we want to look at in this area and propose, and also some great things that are going on in the city to hopefully help with this situation. First off, probably a lot of you have not heard about this, but we're going to be undertaking a comprehensive transportation study within the entire city of Charleston with special emphasis on West Ashley, looking at areas of congestion, looking at traffic counts, trying to determine some things the city and the county and the state can be doing together to help our transportation system, because we realize that we're getting to capacity in a lot of these locations. You've probably heard some about synchronization of signals. It's not the complete panacea, but it can help things. There are ways that signals can help move more traffic through, and we're going to work on some more synchronization and improvements over the next year or two. One thing that we think has real potential also is a complete multimodal study for Savannah Highway. What is that? Well, this is something we just completed for Folly Road, and this was a first of its type in this region. It took a look at Folly Road together with consultants who were experts in planning, engineering, traffic, the whole gamut of things that go on in a roadway, and said, Folly Road has some limits on how much more we could widen it. In fact, we may not be able to widen it much more. Savannah Highway is in a similar circumstance. So are there ways that we can increase the capacity on that roadway, in this case Savannah Highway, with mass transit, with making things more bike and walker friendly, and also with making the traffic function better within the lanes that are there? And a multimodal study can do that. The State Department of Transportation has funds for those, so we want to be going to the Council of Government soon and request such a study for Savannah Highway. The city and county have also requested through transportation sales tax funds, that TST funding for improvements at Savannah Highway and DuPont and Savannah Highway Orleans. Now, this is an overall massive improvement, but this might be some extra turn lanes, some work on the signals, things like that that could help things in those locations. Then Savannah Highway and Wapu Road intersection improvements that we're going to go through a little bit more in just a second. And then, of course, pedestrian and bicycle improvements. This is from our traffic engineer who was working with us on the Savannah Highway and Wapu intersection, and some computations and some thought patterns he was having here about ways that this intersection could be improved. And then these made their way into our fancier drawing right here. And I'll kind of go through these in a little bit more detail. One of the most important things we think that needs to happen at this intersection is a better connection between the West Ashley Bikeway and the West Ashley Greenway. Right now, the city of Charleston owns a 100-foot wide strip that comes across the property right here, kind of in this area here. It's on the southern side of the Limehouse property. That we think we could work with the property owner and move that West Ashley Bikeway into a location to the east a little bit, and then run it on the south of their property immediately adjacent to Savannah Highway. This would do several things. It would create a safer crossing for the West Ashley Bikeway and create a better connection via these crosswalks to the West Ashley Greenway, which is a little bit further to the south. But it could also make things safer through here by not having curb cuts in this portion of Savannah Highway, not having the turn lane, which would help the pedestrians in the location here. Overall, it would make for a much more bike and pedestrian friendly location. Plus, it would make for a pleasing location for new businesses to be in this location up on the road, possibly a public plaza or outdoor eat dining area in a place like this. So some substantial improvements that would make that connection between the bikeway and greenway much more inviting and safe. Other improvements you see here are full left turn lanes along with medians that would help protect those left turn lanes and beautify them. Left turn lanes on the northbound portions of Savannah Highway as well. Left turns here with the protected median. These medians serve another important function in that they provide a refuge as you're crossing the street, so you feel a little bit safer crossing the street. That's one of the reasons we put one of those in the Avondale Point area. The median that currently exists at Wapu and Savannah would remain because, again, that helps with providing a pedestrian refuge. It also helps with the tight angle we have here, letting cars get through here a little bit more smoothly. So this is something we're really excited about. We're going to be searching for ways to fund this. We're going to be working, hopefully, with the property owner adjacent here about maybe the swap of some of the city land for moving the bikeway into the front area and getting more eyes on the bikeway and getting it in more of a attractive location. So we're very excited about moving forward with that. Then we have elements of our bike and pedestrian plan that we wanted to show how these would impact the area here. Of course, the priority number one, the connection between the bikeway and the greenway, which is here through the intersection here, and you see the little dotted line for what we were just talking about a second ago. Then improvements, I believe I go up here. That's that improvement there. Then, need to back up. Then the improvement to Wapu Road itself from a bike and pedestrian standpoint, hopefully creating some sort of bike and pedestrian facility for Wapu Road between Savannah Highway and Highway 61 or Ashley River Road. Already there are some sidewalks that are to the south of Savannah Highway. We'd love to enhance those further, but also get some things going between Savannah Highway and Ashley River Road. Then improvements for bikes and pedestrians along Orleans and DuPont, as highlighted here. Here's DuPont Road and here's Orleans Road. We heard from folks during the charrette that was something that they thought would be very helpful to the area. Now, drainage and stormwater.
Hello, I'm Frank Newham. I'm with the city's Department of Public Service. And let me see if I can work this thing. First of all, I'm going to just do a brief overview of the stormwater system. And if you see here, first thing you notice is the planning area, which is in red that we've been talking about all night, is substantially smaller than the yellow area, which is actually the drainage basin for this part of town. The yellow area encompasses about 1,300 acres. It goes all the way up to Ashley River Road. This is like Jaywood, Hazelwood up here. This is a ditch section that runs all the way down through a canal system, past the Citadel Mall, through the Greenway and out. That flow area takes about 13,000 feet to get from Ashley River Road up here all the way down to this point and discharge. It's a very low area. We've got pretty much elevations 7 and 8 around it here. It's pretty low. It's not very high at all, so the time of concentration, the flow lengths are very long in this basin. The basin's made up about 75% city property, 25% county. There's also, most of the roads in here are DOT, SCDOT roads that are maintained by the Department of Transportation. What we were looking at is a comprehensive study with the county to go in and inventory all the storm drainage in this area, to come up with a hydraulic model so we can determine how the water reacts for different storm events, what we need to do to actually improve the drainage in the basin, and to plan for development and redevelopment in the basin. We don't want to have any kind of redevelopment or development that actually adds to the stormwater problem. We want to try to solve it. This model is a good first step to doing that. It also helps us prioritize where we're going to do the improvements. You don't want to come into a drainage basin and make a lot of improvements at the top of the basin, because all you're going to do is flood the bottom of the basin. So what we're going to do is look at this in a very systematic way. The model, the inventory, everything will build towards having a workable plan for improving drainage in this basin. And I think it's a great first step on any basin we have in the city if we can get one of these drainage models in place. We like down at the bottom, the expected outcomes. We hope to have infrastructure improvements identified, have cost, real costs, so we know what we're getting into. We'll have a revised stormwater requirements, so there may be more stringent stormwater requirements in this basin. We don't know yet. The study will kind of tell us that. Any kind of special protection areas that we may have, again, to try to improve the drainage. And another thing we're looking at is a water quality component, maybe using some low impact development, maybe using some other means of best management practices to improve the water quality in this basin. So I'm looking forward to getting this study started. The county's been very gracious on working with us on the study. So that's pretty much it for stormwater at this point.
Okay, we're coming up on the last few slides here. One thing I did want to remind everyone, so this has been pretty comprehensive, and just wanted to remind everyone as you can see, there are a lot of components to this planning effort that we're doing. The overlay district itself is the zoning part of it. And when we started getting into this, we realized, with the drainage, that is a different component. We will be adding some language in the zoning ordinance about that, but that drainage effort that the county and city are going to do is going to be a long-term effort. They've got to get the consultant and the study done, and then we will then be updating the zoning ordinance and the requirements accordingly. I just wanted to remind everyone of that. And also, the coordination with DOT and some of these other projects that we've been talking about will be things that will be happening. We're going to show them in the overlay district as diagrams or in the ordinance, but they will be separate efforts as well. So on that topic, one of the things when we got together, we said, of course, this is planning and zoning, and these things don't occur overnight, and it sort of occurs as development and redevelopment happens. One of the things that we wanted to do was, is there something that we can do to, within a year's period or so time, to really just show everyone and show ourselves that this area is special, and that we can, what can we do to help make a better presentation for this planning area. So one of the things that we would like to do is to look at a possible street tree planting plan here. Now, I will say that we have not approached the DOT or SCE&G with this yet. Obviously, in other parts of the county, this type of plan is possible because it's been done, but there are some other agencies and jurisdictions we need to get approval from. And so we would like, if everyone likes this idea, we would like, of course, our elected officials' help and the public's help in pressuring those agencies and helping make this happen, because sometimes it's difficult to occur. So what we want to do is to have the area, I know it's hard to see here, I'm going to have an elevation in a second. You know the area between the sidewalk and the edge of the pavement, there is a grassed area there, which is very fortunate because it separates, of course, the pedestrian from the vehicle, but it also adds an opportunity for some vegetation to be planted. We want to start that at right below Skylark. Here's Skylark up here. We want to start it on this road right here. And by the way, as you're looking at this map, I know it's a little disorienting. This is up here where my pointer is 526. And as you go down, you're working your way down. You start working your way back to the city of Charleston this way. Okay? So it kind of reads like a book. Here's the large car dealership here. So we have a possibility, hopefully, of planting vegetation in that grass strip on both sides of the road. Now we do have a SC&G power line we have to deal with on the lower side of the road, but if we choose our plant material carefully and work with them, I think we'll be successful in getting something done. So, yes, exactly. So what we're going to do is, this is a Google image of Savannah Highway right now. And as you can see, this is the power line that we need to deal with. But you can see a better image here of the grass strip that's available between the edge of the pavement and the sidewalk. Okay? And again, we want to do something here. We need to work with these agencies. We know it's been done before in other jurisdictions. But one of the things that it could look like is something like this, possibly, to really give the street a real sense of place. When you're in this area, you'll know you'll be in West Ashley, in a special area. And we really think, as a landscape architect and being trained for it, we know the value of something even as simple as this and what it does for the community. And this is something that could happen sooner than just waiting for the redevelopment of properties as they come about. So this is something we would like to pursue. If everyone is in agreement with this, I can't promise you that we would have this many or maybe that species, but I know that it's been done before on other roads. They may be crepe myrtles. We may have to negotiate some of the species, but we really think it's something that we can. No crepe myrtles. Okay. All right. Well, I will tell you that the DOT is very selective in telling us what they do. Of course, this is our number one choice. Does everyone like something like this? Do you think it's something that, that you would like to do? Okay. So, as I said, what we need is y'all's help in negotiating with the agencies who are on this road, the DOT and the SC&G, to help us make something like this happen. And before we take questions, does everyone remember what we call the area? Yeah, all right, good. So I just wanted to hear it myself. So, all right. So we actually, before we get, our next step is we're going to get into questions in just a second. So the next steps for this, each of our jurisdictions do want to go ahead and follow through with adopting these zoning ordinances. We went over everything, what they are. The city did, and Andrew did a great job in showing, the job center and some of the design standards. Of course, we want to conduct this drainage study, and I think we're serious about this. I mean, the city and the county public works they're working on the funds to make this happen. And of course, the one thing we want to do as soon as we can is try to get on the program of planting these trees. So, we will have the ordinances up on our respective jurisdictions' websites, the City of Charleston and Charleston County. So keep monitoring that. We'll email folks as well, let them know. It will happen fairly soon, I think. We're almost done with the drafts. And if anybody has any, do you have any questions? Sure.
I just wanted to take a quick second to thank the staff of the city and the county who've been working on this. Certainly we've heard your elected officials have heard time and again that we need to be able to provide you a West Ashley that we all know and treasure, and make sure it has the fresh coat of paint on it, and then we're all working together. And it has really been amazing how Christopher and Jacob and Joel and Frank and the team have all just worked together and come up with this based on all the information you've provided. And it's amazing that y'all have been sitting here for over an hour. I know we want to get into questions, but I just wanted a chance to say thank you for being here, and thanks to y'all for your great work on this.
Thank you.